Not only was I playing with Keith Jarrett and Paul Motion, I was also playing with Ornette, and I was forming the Liberation Music Orchestra. I mean, there was so much music going on. One day, this was right after my triplet daughters were born, Ornette called me and said, I have an offer from George Wein to go to Europe with the Newport Jazz Festival tour, and it's going to be Duke Ellington and Miles Davis's band, which also had Keith in it, and Dexter Gordon's band. He said, you got to come. And I said, man, we just had these babies. I can't leave. You know, he said, you got to come. And so I decided to go. When we got over to Europe, I saw on the itinerary that we were going to be playing in Portugal, and I went to Ornette's room, and I said, I don't want to play in Portugal. And he said, why? And I said, because they have colonies in Mozambique and Angola and Guinea-Bissau, and they're systematically wiping out the black race there, you know, and I don't want to play there. It's a dictatorship, fascist government, Salazar and now Caetano. And he said, well, I've signed a contract, we've got to play. He said, think of something you can do. We're on stage in Cascais, which was a resort area of Portugal outside of Lisbon. Many, many thousands of people were there. It came time for my tune, and I bent over to the mic and I said, I want to dedicate this song to the black people's liberation movements in Mozambique.
This next song is dedicated to the black people's liberation movement of Mozambique.
Before I could get the rest of the colonies, pandemonium broke out, cheering, yelling, screaming. I looked over at Ornette and he was like, you know, adjusting his reed, and Dewey and Blackwell raised their arms, you know, which was really something else. We started to play and you couldn't even hear the song. It was amazing. And then after the concert, I thought they were going to take me in right there, you know. They took me to the hotel. Of course, I didn't sleep all night, and next morning we started to check out. The phone rang at reception, and it was Dexter Gordon. And he said, Charlie, thank you for what you did last night. He said, it should have been done a long time ago. I just want you to know that you got my blessing, you know. I think that was great, and that made me feel so good, man. And Miles was standing on the stairs, and he looked at me and he said, you crazy motherfucker. I said, oh, man. Hi, Miles. How you doing, man? And then all of a sudden, the guy behind the counter at TWA come around to me and he said, Mr. Haden, those gentlemen over there want to interview you. And I said, well, I don't want to be interviewed. I want to get on the plane. He said, well, you can't get on the plane right now. You have to be interviewed by those gentlemen. And Ornette said, well, I'm not getting on the plane without Charlie. And they said, we're sorry. You have to get on the plane. And they took the guys and put them on the plane. And I'm standing there with my luggage and base in the middle of the airport. They started shooting questions at me. And I said, look, I'm a United States citizen. And I want to see somebody from the embassy. And the guy looked at me and said, it's Sunday, the embassy's closed, Mr. Haden. You should not mix politics with music. Tears started rolling down my cheeks because I said, man, I'm not going to see my son or my babies again. They took me to the prison, shoved me inside this dark room and closed the door, and I was there I don't know how many hours, maybe a day or two. I was very scared, and then finally somebody came and they took me to an interrogation room filled with these really bright lights and started questioning me. Finally, another guy walks in the room and comes over to the lead interrogator and whispers something in his ear. And the guy's expression completely changed. He smiled and he said, "Mr. Haden, you're a very lucky man. There's someone, the cultural attaché is upstairs from the American Embassy to retrieve you." I said, "Boy, do I want to be retrieved." Manfred Eicher called